The literacy challenge selected for the focus of this presentation is decoding and the resulting levels of reading proficiency for students who have a deficiency in decoding. So first, why is decoding important? Students who struggle to decode and in turn have difficulties with oral reading fluency will most likely begin to experience problems with reading comprehension. Given that reading comprehension should always be the end result of reading, the difficulties with decoding will create frustration in students, resulting in disengagement from the reading process. As students disengage, they eventually will become further and further behind their grade level peers in their performance. As an example, Jane, a first grade student, is currently reading below grade level standards based on district adopted screeners such as the DRA and the observation survey. Based on these two screeners, they highlight an area for Jane in decoding vowel consonant and CVC words in isolation and connected text. Given her struggles with reading these simple patterns of words, both her oral reading fluency and reading comprehension are also below grade level benchmark standards. In first grade, vowel consonant and CVC words should be, at this point, more automatic in her working memory. So what do we do next? The diagnosis demands a response. The ability to decode is a critical predictor of future reading success. Students who are on a low trajectory of reading due to decoding deficits tend to stay on that trajectory, and they will fall further and further behind, unless educators intervene. The good news is the trajectory does not have to stay low. We can change that predictor. So currently in place for Jane, there are a few strategies being used within the classroom, as well as in small group intervention groups. So first, phonemic awareness. The ability to decode hinges not just on the knowledge and application of the alphabetic principle, but includes the fundamental prerequisite of phonemic awareness. Jane must be able to, as all students must be able to hear and manipulate phonemes before they can attach a grapheme to these sounds in order to decode. As Mesmer, and Jones say, if a student cannot segment or blend phonemes, they will not be able to apply letters to these sounds to decode. In order to develop phonemic awareness in Jane, a few strategies are currently being used. First, segmenting phonemes through songs and interactive activities, such as blending activities, sound songs, and interactive, tactile, and kinesthetic activities in the classroom. Additionally, changing words by deleting either the beginning or ending phoneme, by creating new words, and then given the phonemes in a word, students guess the word by blending those phonemes. As part of the current core instruction, systematic phonics instruction is in place. So, based on the National Reading Panel, Timothy Shanahan concluded that when students are taught phonics through a systematic program, there is an accelerated impact on students' reading accuracy, fluency, and comprehension. Additionally, given the phonics instruction that is in place, there is also opportunities to practice that skill through access to leveled text. So Jane and all students in the classroom, when learning to decode, are then able to apply that skill in connected text, since again, reading comprehension should always be the goal of reading. The New Jersey Dyslexia Handbook suggests that extensive practice of reading connected text must be in place in the classroom. While these strategies are in place, Jane continues to demonstrate a deficiency with decoding and phonics. So some additional strategies and interventions are suggested. First, developing metacognition. While the strategies currently in place definitely reinforce and support basic early literacy skills, no skill taught will be beneficial until a student learns to internally apply and monitor the effects of that skill. So for example, when Jane approaches a new word, she needs to be able to ask herself which strategy to use. Is it the right one? And if it's not working, can she adjust and apply a new one? Metacognition can be developed through conferencing, coaching, and feedback, and explicit modeling. To differentiate metacognition, this can be done through the intensity and time of conferences. For example, some students might need weekly conferences, while others might need more. Some conferences can last a few minutes, while some might need to last longer. Teachers should be responsive to individual student reading behaviors and the use of text on a student's level, which support and yet challenge reading growth. In order to assess the development of metacognition, running records can be used to analyze and monitor students' use of cues and self-corrections, and conferring notes to monitor application of strategies can be evaluated to guide instructional decisions. So while there is, again, that systematic phonics program in place, it is more of a sound-by-sound decoding and applying rules to individual sounds. There has been research to show that using analogies is a more efficient way for students to attack words. Through this process, students become word detectors, noticing how a known word helps them to decode an unknown word. So more unskilled readers, such as Jane, have found increased success with using the analogical approach rather than sound-by-sound decoding. To differentiate this activity, analogies should be presented based on students' level of development. So, for example, while some students might be working on long vowel analogies, such as using rake to decode lake and cake, another group might need continued work with short vowels, such as using cat to decode hat and mat. Assessments to determine development of these skills could include phonogram word reading probes to chart progress and determine if a student is meeting benchmarks, blind sorts of words based on known words. This would be an informal assessment, or spelling inventories using a given word to determine if students can create patterns of words, since there needs to be the connection between reading and writing. So games for decoding can also be put in place for students. Many struggling readers can become frustrated and disengaged from the reading process, so it is important for teachers to understand how to engage a student in the reading process, making it fun, enjoyable, yet meaningful. Messmer et al. Suggests that for games to be successful, they must provide students with multiple opportunities to practice the target skill in an engaged manner. Games can be simple. They can be created with dice or word cards and easily differentiated just by the thoughtful selection of words. They not only reinforce word working and phonics skills, but they also develop speaking, listening, and discussion skills as students work with each other and play the game. So in the case of Jane, a student who struggles with decoding, she needs the repeated exposure and ongoing practice with words, and games are an excellent way to do this. To assess the use of games and if it is supporting decoding, progress monitoring probes, which include both real and nonsense words to determine application of analogies and alphabetic principle, can be used. Additionally, oral reading fluency measurements to determine if accuracy and words per minute rates are increasing can also help to chart growth. In conclusion, phonics instruction should be developmental, systematic, explicit, and differentiated. As Fontes and Pinnell state, explicit phonics and word work is essential to help beginners learn to take words apart, or in other words, to decode. Students need to develop fluent decoding, where the ongoing practice and frequent exposure to words transfers to working memory to be drawn upon for fluent, phrased reading, resulting in comprehension. When students have stalled on the reading path due to deficiencies with decoding, teachers must evaluate the use of current strategies and, if needed, adopt new ones. Students need to be able to draw upon a variety of strategies when encountering unknown words. The responsive teacher consistently takes the pulse of the reader, knowing when to adjust and adapt phonics and word-working instruction in order to meet the needs of that student. We must never lose sight of the goal of reading, meaningful reading where readers connect to and apply what they read to in a variety of both academic and personal experiences. As Allington argues, while students who have decoding issues need appropriate interventions, teachers must construct lessons that help make the comprehension process visible. For what use is decoding words if students are unable to make sense of those words?